I'm Marilyn Fedak, the founder of the modestly named Marilyn G. Fedak Capitalism Society. And it is my great honor and privilege to welcome you to the second annual Adam Smith Society Conference. I can't tell you how excited and happy I am about this event. In fact, I was saying to someone earlier, I hope I don't get like all sloppy and sentimental up here. Now, some of you who don't know me may wonder why I got this honor, and the answer is that you know there's a saying that success has many fathers. Well, I'm one of the parents of the Adam Smith Society. It was almost exactly 5 years ago this month that I had the idea that eventually led to its launch. Now, I couldn't have known back then how successful this would be in such a short period of time. By the way, am I like reverberating because I feel like I'm bouncing here a little bit? No, it's okay, cool, okay, good. You know, and on that score of success, I am proud to announce that we have 15 chapters at leading business schools across the country. We have an up and running and growing alumni network, and we have about 1,000 members. Now, while I couldn't have known, of course, 5 years ago how successful we would be, what I did know in the winter of 2009 was that the enemies of our free market system were using the financial crisis as an opportunity to try and criticize our capitalist system. And that got me really angry. So I decided right then and there that I was going to make it my mission to support our free markets in any way that I could. And so I started my Capitalism project, which, in conjunction with the Manhattan Institute, launched the first Adam Smith Society chapter just about 2 years ago. Now, I have to admit that much of my initial response to Fight Back was very personal more than it was philosophical. For one thing, I had a wonderful 40-year career on Wall Street. I had so much fun. I achieved so much more than I ever would have dreamed possible when I was your guys' age. I learned so much, I got to grow in so many ways, and I got to be part of building a great company. When I joined Sanford C. Bernstein and Company in 1984, we managed about $2 billion in client assets, and we had roughly 200 employees all on one floor in a building in New York. Over the next decades, the company grew very rapidly, and at the peak, we had $800 billion in assets. Oh my God, 2 billion to 800 billion, and we went from 200 employees to 5,500 around the globe. It was an unbelievable rush and so rewarding to be part of that growth. And importantly, in light of all the criticism that has been levied at Wall Street and greed on Wall Street, I am so proud of what we did to achieve that success. We gave our clients financial success and peace of mind. It was just an unbelievable experience, and I really hope that every one of the students in this room have as much satisfaction from your careers as I did from mine. But I will also tell you that no matter how much I love my career, there is nothing that I did in those 40 years that I am as proud of as being part of the launch of the Adam Smith Society. I can't tell you. Again, I don't want to get like, well, you know, sentimental up here, but I've come to realize over this 5-year period how important the free markets are to our personal freedoms, to our country's future. I've come to realize they're important for much more than just job creation and personal growth, though of course that's important. Now, much of my education in political economy has come via the Manhattan Institute. I think the smartest thing I've ever done was to decide to partner with the Institute in this project. I never could have grown the society so rapidly on my own without the Manhattan Institute's resources including the vast intellectual capital that will be on display today. And these resources, I think this is so important for you all, will be available to you, Adam Smith members, not only while you're in school, but throughout your careers. You will see this as a great advantage. So I want to thank everyone at the Manhattan Institute for all you've done to make our shared dream a reality. And I also want to thank the Manhattan Institute trustees who supported this project and the donors who have been so generous. But most of all, I want to thank you, the Adam Smith Society members, and particularly the chapter leaders who are here today. Whenever I get depressed about the path that our country is going down, and I do get depressed, I call up Allison Mangiero and Molly Harsh. I'm looking for them, and I say, ladies, it's time for a road trip. This is how I give myself a boost of optimism, by going to meet with Adam Smith Society chapters. The passion that you students have for our free markets and your commitment to supporting them never fail to inspire me. And it gives me great hope that your generation can get our country back on the path to the idea that it is capitalism and only capitalism that can provide all of our citizens with real opportunity to better themselves. But let's make no mistake about it. The path to the new shining city on the hill will not be an easy one. We have gone far down the road towards big, overreaching government and away from the support of truly free markets. There is now a strong anti-capitalist bias in many areas of our society. You can see it in many parts of our culture. I mean, the girl with the dragon tattoo, the Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, you can hardly go to a movie or pick up a book that doesn't have some business person as its villain. And I think its most insidious form is in children's movies. Now, some of you may have taken your kids to the Muppets movie a few years ago. If so, you may remember the villain, Tex Richmond. Get it? Rich man. I mean, it's a little subtle, but not terribly subtle. And this bad guy, he plotted to demolish the Muppets Theater so that he could drill for oil. I mean, what a scumbag, huh? And that's not an anomaly. I wish I could say, okay, well, that's the only one, you know? No. Have any of you been to the Lego movie? Not yet? Well, I'm sure some of you will kids will drag you to it. The Lego movie, which just came out, is just more of the same. This movie's cast of characters includes, I mean, they're not even subtle anymore, President Business. He's a villainous CEO who basically runs the world. And his swivel-headed henchman, bad cop, good cop. Now, I know some of you guys are first years or second years, you don't have jobs when you're finishing school. I don't know if any of you are considering the henchman role, but obviously this is a growth opportunity in much of American business today. Just keep it in mind. Now, for those of you with older children, they will find some terrific anti-capitalist propaganda in the January issue of Rolling Stone magazine. It's called The 5 Economic Reforms Millennials Should Be Fighting For. I wish I had time to read you the entire article. It's stunning in its ignorance. I mean, stunning. You should all look it up. But I will give you some of the headline reforms, which include, well, it is Social Security reform, but not in the way that we would think of it. Instead, the author has suggested, why just give it to old people? Let's give Social Security to all. Everybody should get some income. So as he says, quote, they can get a life. And there's another proposal that the government buy up all the stocks and bonds of rich people, voluntarily, I'm sure, and then they take this mega fund and they pay dividends to everybody else from it. I guess this kid hasn't studied history very much and doesn't know that similar policies didn't work that well in the former Soviet Union. Now, people say to me when I tell them this, they say, Marilyn, lighten up. As you can imagine, for those of you who know me, people say that to me all the time, Marilyn, lighten up. But they say those characters in children's movies, they'll go right over the kids' heads. And Rolling Stone magazine, come on, this isn't exactly the Financial Times or the Economist. But this is serious stuff. Behavioral science tells us that the more times we hear something, the more we believe it's true, even if we have no proof of its validity. Think global warming. Once ideas like this get disseminated in the culture, they begin to gain credibility, or at the very least, they make even slightly less radical ideas seem kind of reasonable. So attacks on capitalism in the culture are therefore very dangerous. The anti-capitalism bias is now also a major feature of many political campaigns, as everyone knows by now. Income equality is the new rallying cry. Now look, I don't want to sound like hard-hearted Hannah here. I'm not. And neither is the Manhattan Institute. If income inequality arises because lower income people are trapped and are losing ground in real terms, yeah, that's a problem. And by the way, MI has some ideas on how to address that. But come on. I mean, we all know this political posturing has nothing to do with helping the lower echelon. It's all about decrying the so-called 1%, the most successful of our citizens. And it is particularly targeted to business people. I mean, do you ever hear people complain that movie stars make too much money? Or that sports figures make too much money? Or rappers? No, it's always business people. The rhetoric surrounding this issue is extremely dangerous. One of the Manhattan Institute scholars, Luigi Zingales, has warned that our free markets are really at risk here. This populist harangue in the wake of the financial crisis, it's divisive. It's promoting the idea that some people have rigged the system so that they can benefit and everyone else doesn't stand a chance. And that makes those people, understandably, angry and cynical. Now, I think the big dividing line between most of us in the room and the income inequality hawkers is that we believe that opportunity is created by giving people the tools by which to raise themselves, not by handouts. As Manhattan Institute fellow Scott Winship said recently, it's a mistake to think that the primary barrier to mobility is financial. Giving someone money is no guarantee that they will be able, or their children will be able, to better themselves. Without creating opportunity, all we're doing is redistributing wealth. It's political posturing, and I think it's cynical and it's ideological. There was an interview in the Wall Street Journal a while ago that I think has made this really transparent. The interview was with Andy Stern. He was then the leader of the SEIU, the Service Employees Union. He made it one of the largest and fastest growing unions in the country. In the interview, Mr. Stern spoke positively about the European economic model versus the US. He said, and I quote, "I think Western Europe has made different trade-offs that may have ended up with a little more unemployment, but a lot more fairness." I must have read this sentence 3 times. I mean, I really couldn't believe this guy was saying this. I mean, seriously? Andy Stern, the head of a major labor union, is telling his workers he's okay if they lose their jobs? A little more unemployment? Just as long as rich people don't make too much money? Is this moral? I don't think so. Only truly free markets, not the crony capitalism that is rampant in many sectors of the economy today, can lead to equality of opportunity and the ability for all to raise themselves. Only businesses can create new jobs. Only innovation can increase productivity and improve our quality of life. I recently heard an interesting quote from Bill Boulding, the dean of Duke's Fuqua School of Business. He said, "There's more of an opportunity to make positive change through business than ever today. Business will be the transformational engine of the 21st century." I agree with him, but I also think that it's important to remember that just as there is no government without its citizens, there is no business without its leaders. You, the students in the room today, and your classmates across the country, you are the future leaders of the business community that will lead this charge for positive change. This is why it is so critical that we have the Adam Smith Society and why we need to support you, its members, while you're in school and throughout your careers. The mission you're embarking on is not going to be easy. It is very hard to turn a big ship in mid-course. But I know, we know, that you're going to do it because you're not going to let these anti-capitalist forces stand in the way of your ambition, your creativity, your talent. And you will do it for the sake of your future, for the future of your children, for the future of your grandchildren, and for the future of this great country. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.